It is 7 o'clock, straight up. And everyone is unmuted and good to go. We have the thumbs up. Okay, thank you very much. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Directors on Tuesday, October 8th, my daughter's birthday.
Oh, great. How old is she?
31.
Wow.
We do roll call first. We do roll call.
Oh, roll call. I'm in such a hurry here. Roll call.
Director Coverdale.
I'm about halfway here.
Okay, Director Feldman.
Here.
Director Mueller.
Here.
Vice President Reynolds
I'll be here.
and President Michelson.
Here.
Okay.
Make my seat taller.
I just starting to see my background.
You gotta be,
Yeah, it
gotta be an engineer to work your seat.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. And Mr. President, do you think we could get a window technician?
Oh, what do we need? Open or
Okay.
open?
It is open.
It is open.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
open.
that's about.
That's open. Oh, I thought it leaned in.
No,
Leans
it's,
out.
it leans
It's
out.
open.
That's
Wow,
about,
we need a fan.
that's about all she wrote. Okay,
Thanks, thank you.
I'm public comment. I'm not seeing anybody in the audience saying I'm anybody remote. If not, we can move straight ahead to consent, please. And Director Reynolds.
I reviewed the payables and they all appeared in order, and I'll make a motion that we approve the consent calendar.
I will second that. Thank you. Lisa, please.
Can I make one comment before we
Absolutely.
go for it? Yeah, I looked at the leak flushing report, but there wasn't any report. And so I'm wondering if there's a schedule. Well, there was a report, but it didn't look like any leak flushing had been done. Has it?
There was no, I don't believe there was any leaks last month and no scheduled flushing.
Yeah. And is the flushing schedule? Is that?
Yes, sir. It's been completed for the year.
Oh, cool. Oh, thank you very much.
There'll be some more dead end, but the whole district will flush this year.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's-
Yeah, so I'm glad to hear that, but I just didn't know. So I was wondering.
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess we didn't do it during COVID, right? So we're all caught up and everything, all good and all flushed. Okay,
Yes, sir.
good. Awesome. Thank you.
Director Coverdale.
Aye.
Director Feldman.
Yes.
Director Mueller.
Aye.
Vice President Reynolds.
Yes.
President Michelson.
Yes. Thank you. Meetings attended, director comments?
I have a very brief one.
Sure.
September 13th, I attended Region 5 Aqua meeting in Watsonville. And very briefly, they had great panels. They did a wonderful job on presentation and Pajaro Valley issues. And let me tell you, the Pajaro Valley treatment plant has gotten millions and millions of dollars when Leon Panetta was a representative, and now his son is a representative. And they're treating millions and millions of gallons of water, but they do have customers in the strawberry fields, artichoke fields. And I believe they're selling it for under $600 an acre foot. Wow, that's pretty good pricing for treated water. And they have huge pressed concrete tanks, or whatever we're calling them, and then underground ones too. They really got a treatment plant out there on the west side of Watsonville. Yeah, great tour, good people, but they have the agro customers. No golf courses.
Yeah, no, I like the pricing. I wonder, is it economies of scale or how do they get it? It's heavily subsidized? How do they get it down
Yeah.
now?
They have 28,000 acres as a customer base. Wow. But anyway, it was a great Region 5 trip. Thank
Good.
you.
No, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Glenn?
Yeah, so a couple of us went out and admired the DN tank up north, and pretty excited to see that happen for us. It's nice to get a feel for what's going on. The other comment I'd make is as many of our constituents will have read in the news that the EPA announced the mandatory lead pipe removal. And I'm really pleased to feel that Coastside County Water District has been paying attention to its lead pipe scenario for decades. And I'm pretty confident that we'll be in really good shape for this. And our lead testing has always shown us to be well ahead of the pack. And just for people who don't know, there will be Bay Area water utilities that will be heavily impacted by the lead pipe mandatory removal. And so it's really nice when we can look at as a new law that will have serious implications and know that we're ahead of the curve.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a multi-trillion-dollar.
I think, yeah, and they put up, I think 15 billion is what they're putting in. Is that right? Is it 15 billion? is what
billion,
they're putting
trillion.
in?
A lot of money. They're not even sure. Yeah, it's a 10-year program and 10 years, maybe a lot. It's gonna keep. Okay, thank you for that. And I believe we're not old. This community was.
Well, we've also been paying attention. You know, we've been doing our lead testing and looking at it.
Did we not look at all of our laterals? Did we survey all of our laterals?
Yes, sir, we did.
And they all passed muster.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's really great.
Yeah.
We kind of dodge that one. That's going to be a big expense and partially driven by Flint, and it even started before.
Oh, yeah, Flint was a train wreck.
Yeah. So that'll really put it on the front burner. No, thank you for sharing that.
So good news for Coastside.
Good. Anything else? Okay. Well, Rick's giving away a lot of money tonight, and EKI is here. Did you back the truck up? So our acting general manager, Jeffrey, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Board of Directors, this first staff report is requesting that the board authorize the general manager to retain the professional services of EKI Environment and Water for capital project management and as needed engineering support, including hydraulic modeling for 12 months for a not to exceed budget of $100,000. So this is the one EKI report. I may not ask John to comment on it, but we effectively came to you folks in January of this year and asked for $100,000 spend. And this staff report documents the work that EKI has done, and we're just so pleased with what they do. Excellent support, but we've run out of those funds. And so we're asking you to replenish our funds to continue to be able to rely on EKI for CIP planning, hydraulic modeling, and one-off engineering assistance.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Please.
How come we did this in 3 separate bites instead of $500,000 contract?
Well,
Why is it broken up?
Well, I did not choose to do this, but I think it makes sense to me personally, because we're talking about 3 different things. One is same vendor, but 3 very different initiatives. One is ongoing support, and the other 2 are project specific. And that's, I think, why it makes sense to carve them up.
Yeah, so the first tranche is CIP driven, keeps the Feldman factor.
Okay, but if we put them on retainer for the first one, then we can eliminate the other 2 because it's already done because we have them on retainer.
Well, this is
sense.
the 100,000 is kind of an annual thing, and then the following 2 are kind of like one-offs.
I would suggest too that when we talk about project control, having their efforts isolated in relation to those projects as opposed to in a big bucket, which includes ongoing support.
Well, that's I get that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't get it too.
All right.
Plus, it'll give us a chance to really crow about the wells. I'm super excited about that.
I have no problem with having project definition. I mean, it gives some intent to what we're really doing with the money, and I think it's even, to me, it's reasonable and judicious to show how we plan to spend it in the things that we're trying to use it for. The only question I had was, then there's the 100K retainer, which is like an on-call fee, basically. Is that, I mean, you know, that one was the only one that sort of gave me a little thought. I know we've done this historically. However, we seem to be able to define things well enough to create projects and have them do them. So I'm wondering if that retainer has the same significance as it did, except maybe we have things that come up that we didn't plan on. I mean, that's That was my thought.
I think,
So, again, it's the other way I would rather go, which is to always projectize them and set up a little contract for each of the things they do, and then we can really keep our wits about us.
when the description that Mary generated for this, and John, please, can you say chime in? We meet every week with John to
Right.
talk about CIP projects, and there's a give and take with John and our team talking about ongoing work. And that's part of what we're covering here with this fee. Effectively, our CIP planning, one-off project planning, these other projects that John was involved in. Again, we found we needed that help and funded it through.
But rather than, again, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that it's really is a project-based thing, which is a project to have oversight on the things that you're doing.
That's right.
And so, I mean, it's not just there to be, dabbled with when you need it. You obviously have things you do with it. And so it didn't make it clear that, you're using this as an oversight way of doing business for a variety of things that aren't specifically a project-based expenditure.
Well, I would
That's
suggest
fine.
that hydraulic modeling is another
Okay.
example of that. It's ongoing effort, correct, John?
Well, it wouldn't hurt to have some definition then to cover the cost of various and sundry things that we do on a regular basis.
Well, there,
So it doesn't seem just like it's there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times there are a lot of small tasks that are, really one-off things. that we
Okay, I
have to
understand that.
cover And we're able to be really responsive
Right,
to the requests that come in and don't get bogged down with.
as I say, an on-call time.
Yeah, it would be, we'd be generating way too many staff reports.
right.
if We broke everything down. So I see this as keeping the CIP moving forward.
Right, that's good.
Yeah, okay, so,
Well, I think that also, it really is like they're performing the function of an in-house engineer.
Mhm.
And so on call, hey, we just had a wild idea.
Right.
Gee, we don't need to go back and get an authorization. However, I agree with what your intention is. And so I think that the more we could have clear reporting on what the billing was for each time. And then we could see that this was allocated to hydraulic.
Yeah, we do track it. All of our tasks that we create or are assigned to us, we track them on a project by project basis. So we know exactly what we're spending on what.
So I think if we have that report, if that's something that you wanted, I mean, that would
the
certainly.
the breakout
Yeah,
exists.
put any of that.
Maybe a summary, a breakout of what was done during the year for that on-call service. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
See what we got for the insurance, so to speak.
Okay, can we get a motion to pass it?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
That's not on all three.
It's on the.
I was gonna say, we're gonna just do the first one. All right.
There's three.
I'll make a motion, we authorize the general manager to retain the professional services for EKI Environmental and Water, EKI. For capital project management and as needed engineering support, including hydraulic modeling for 12 months for a not to exceed budget of $100,000.
I'll second that. Lisa, please.
Director Coverdale,
Yes.
Director Philbin,
Yes.
Director Muller,
Aye.
Vice President Reynolds,
Yeah, yes.
President Michaelson.
Yes. Okay, yeah, and this one, we did break out, and this is really related to this. It seems to happen every time we have a real wet year. Those roads up in Florida seem to wash out and require some kind of maintenance. So I'd like that this is called out separately because it takes money to keep those roads serviceable. And we can't get in there, we can't service our wells. So Jeffrey, please.
Yeah, again, we're offering an estimated $44,800 spend. We'd like your authorization for the general manager to enter into an agreement with EKI Environment and Water Incorporated for services related to the Pillar Cedos Creek Road Stabilization Project. And within the staff report, there is a description of what we're doing. We had a storm event in late December 2022 and January 23, and resulted in sustained damage, as you noted, termites and Pillar Cedos. And the specific issues that were we flagged in the first paragraph here resulted in us going after an engineering study with Underwood and Rosenblum, which is at a 40% level to date. We've completed geotechnical consulting work, and now what we're looking to do with EKI's help and their sub-consultant, Environmental Science Associates, ESA, is to establish an environmental regulatory permitting strategy. So looking at the project and the potential permitting issues and working with EKI's help and ESA to establish, a strategy to ensure that we're addressing the environmental concerns and permitting related to it. And so I would like to ask again, John, if you could comment on this and add some color to this effort.
Sure, yeah, we, myself and the project manager for ESA did a site walk of the road with Darren and his crew, I guess last month. And identified areas where we think that there could be some permitting challenges based on ESA's experience working on similar projects. And so they're they have really strong relationships with all the regulators too. So a lot of it is relying on their experience to help the district navigate the permitting challenges of this project. And it's the same team that successfully got the Highway 92 project permitted. And another thing that they're going to look at is, we know that the maintenance issues are, it's not a one-time thing, but there's potential for future need for ongoing maintenance up there due to rains or other trees falling or yeah. And so they're going to look at developing a watershed maintenance agreement, and then looking at the CCWD and the other permitting from a programmatic standpoint, so that it will aid in any future work up there.
Yeah, I'd like to inform our customer base, that's on CCWD property, is that correct?
That's correct.
Well, there's two of them are on San Francisco's property. So we will have to work with the PUC on a couple of these slides, but all of them involve what John's talking about right now.
Okay, so most of it's on
That's correct, sir.
the property that the old timers bought years ago. People don't realize that property's up there. Yeah, build a clubhouse.
I think we've built a really good relationship with EKI. And I think we've always enjoyed the fact that it's typically a not to exceed number, but I don't see it in the language. And so I'm hoping that this is a not to exceed.
Not to exceed. Yes, of course.
I just don't see the wording in our proposal. So I would like to add that if it's reasonable. And I'd be happy to make a motion.
Yeah, you can make a motion and include that, and we'll.
Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay, most definitely.
So I'd like to authorize the general manager to enter into a professional service agreement with EKI Environmental and Water, Inc., say that 3 times fast, for environmental services related to the Pillars Creek Road Stabilization Project for a total of $44,800, not to exceed $44,800.
Yeah, and thank you for adding a not to exceed, and based on that, I will second that.
Okay.
Okay, Director Coverdale,
Aye.
Director Feldman.
Yeah.
Director Mueller,
All
Vice President Reynolds,
right.
President Nicholson.
Aye. Great. Thank you. Okay, this is, this is a big one, and boy, I tell you, potentially yield us a lot of water if this works out. Please tell us about this, Jeffrey.
Sure thing. We're asking the board to authorize the general manager to enter into a professional services agreement, again with EKI Environment and Water Incorporated, for engineering services for the Pillars well field replacement project for a total of $378,000. And what we're addressing here is the fact that we have 5 wells in Pillars Canyon that are over 45 years old, another one that is nearly 30. We have production and maintenance issues arising with these wells, and so we're not getting the production out of them that we would prefer. And also, and I've been talking with Darren about this, we have an opportunity to incorporate these wells in our SCADA environment so that they can be automatically managed, based on parameters that Darren and the team will establish. So as opposed to manually, controlling these wells, we'll be able to do that in a much more automated and efficient way. So this project is to enable, again, the wells to be modernized and to be managed in a more effective way. And again, I'll defer to Darren and John for more comment on this.
I got a question.
Sure.
Yeah, if I may ask the professionals, well, one thing, being living on a well most of our lives, how deep are these wells? Number one, simple one there. Number two, I'm surprised to see the word scale in there. Our well here in town has a large manganese issue. We don't call that scale, we call it the yucky stuff on our pipes, right? Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay. I apologize.
Which is
Little
kind of,
baby wells.
it's kind of typical, about 80 feet seems to be pretty typical. We don't need to go very deep here.
That's
We don't have a manganese problem, so to say, in the canyon
up
whatsoever.
there, sending it all down to us.
Yes, sir.
So, I did a little simple math here. Any chance, we can get close to this 360 acre feet?
Yes, sir. Well, I think we had, I'm not mistaken, it was 2 years ago. We had 102 million gallon year. Which is 2122, thank you, Jeff, which was just 15 million gallons shy of our max.
So max.
But with the wells, the way they are right now, we're having a tough time getting there.
So that's potentially better than 20% of our requirements. This is huge.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, really let that sink in with, as the negotiated settlement of the 12, he keeps getting kicked down the road indefinitely. Boy, if we could yield that regularly, locally.
There's no question but that these wells are the undervalued essence of local supply. One can't place really a number on how important these things are now and will be in the future to us. As a offset against what may potentially be water restrictions, all kinds of things. These are really the hidden weapon, the silver bullet that's not being really expounded upon sufficiently. I have no hesitation at all in trying to do whatever we can to make these work better.
Yeah, so I really want to, thank staff for bringing this forward to us and really make a motion. Yeah, please, John, we have the next motion. All right, Kim.
Again, I just wanted to be sure that we added the word.
Oh, they're really trying to sneak some over on us, I tell you, Jeffrey.
I really have enjoyed the communication I've had with Jonathan. So I trust him completely. But what I found in contracting is if it's in writing, it's typically enforceable. And if it's not, you could be disappointed. And I want to say that in a lot of I think I've complimented EKI a number of times publicly for coming in under budget. I appreciate working with them. I think they're honest. I think they're forthright. I think they do their best to manage within their means. I appreciate that. But I like to be sure we agree to that, because otherwise it could be that, gee, there's these other things that we never thought about. And because, things go that way.
So, John, you want to read the motion?
Well, you're not building Swiss watches here. Okay.
Trust but verify.
Yeah.
I would like to make a motion to authorize the general manager to enter into a professional service agreement with EKI Environmental and Water Inc. for engineering services for the Pillar Cetus field replacement project for $378,300. And hopefully they know a good water witcher with the willow sticks.
For an amount not to exceed.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you for that clarification. Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Lisa, please.
Who seconded it? Was it?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Director Coverdale,
Aye.
Director Feldman,
Yes.
Director Mueller,
Aye.
Vice President Reynolds,
Yes.
President Michelson.
Yes,
One more short comment.
sure.
I just want to thank EKI for their involvement and their participation and the great job they do for the district. So thank you very much. So these things aren't taken lightly and they're given based on respect and experience and positive results. So I personally would like to thank you for your.
Yeah, if they guarantee the water to come to us.
Thank you.
Well, that was.
You gotta talk to God on that
Didn't you
one.
see the fine print in it?
So Jeffrey,
Humor.
you can speak to your expertise here and it looks like we have a net positive, so it's good news.
Yeah. The first quarter financial review is our next topic and information only, obviously. But for the first 3 months of the fiscal year, our water revenues are about 2% below budget, although they're 12% above prior year. Again, it's volume. So our volumes of sales are 2% below budget. And that's what we're seeing in the top line. We have some good news on the non-operating revenue side. ERAF, which is somewhat unpredictable, but it's $50,000 above the budget thus far this year. I wouldn't expect that to continue throughout the year. That would be unprecedented levels of revenue through ERAF, but we are 50,000 favorable year to date. Interest income, I'd like to talk about for just a moment. We are experiencing interest rates with LAIF that weren't assumed in the budget. We're at 4.6% at this point in time. But we've also begun to take advantage of a program with Tri-Counties where we hold about $1 million in operating cash to take us through the month. And heretofore, we had not been earning anything on that money. And Tri-Counties has a program where LAIF plus 25 basis points. So we're literally 4.8%-ish on our operating cash now. So we're earning more interest on that. So net, we are favorable in interest and we should expect to continue. We'll start to see some reduction in our cash balance as we enter into the initial outlays for DN Tank. And we know we're not funding the entire project with our bond issue, but nonetheless, we're earning more than we thought we would. So it's a positive story there. And then we have $15,000 worth of dogs and cats around other income. So at the end of the day, total revenue is $20,000 favorable. Operating and maintenance expense were $302,000 favorable. The biggest ticket in this line is associated with SFPUC water purchases, purely volume related. We have had Darren and Sean and the team are pulling a lot of water out of the Denison Reservoir beyond what we had budgeted. So we're local sources as well as our challenges with respect to supply out of SFPUC are in play here. But we are $114,000 favorable there in that line item year to date. Let's see. We have PG&E quote unquote savings versus the budget. I'm thinking of you, Glenn, the comments we had during our budget discussion. What are we going to do about PG&E assumptions with respect to the Crystal Springs? And we are favorable in that line item, about 25,000 year to date, but the usage is high. But we are favorable with our Crystal Springs pump station electrical expense. We have some favorability in Denison as well, but that's another, thing we have to watch carefully, and especially with the trajectory that's in the budget going forward. $94,000 in salary and benefits saving versus the budget. We have an assumption in the budget for temporary workers in operations and in the office. We had not hired temporary workers yet. We just did. We brought a new person on earlier this week on the operations side to help with maintenance. So hopefully he'll work out, Darren. But long story short, we have some openings. We had a couple of vacancy in the office as well. So we have a reason for this favorability and we don't expect it to continue because we're getting to the point where we're staffed, as we had budgeted. And there's some other noise there, but that's the main reason for the favorability. Maintenance expense, I talked with Darren about this last week. We've been focused on a lot of project work. We also had, the timing of the dredging work at Denniston is now happening. If it happened in October, we had assumed it would happen in the late September. So there's a little timing difference there. But we're favorable year to date. And then we have a series of modest savings in office expense and a variety of accounts net to get us about 23 grand favorability. So overall, with operating expense and revenue, we're 322,000 favorable year to date. Cash reserves, we're at 11.9 million. Again, we're making reasonable use of that money with Tri-Counties and Lathe. And we watch those returns fairly regularly. But we're sitting nice at 4.6% with Lathe. And then capital improvements, the CIP program, we highlighted several of the projects that are that make up the 333,000 that we spent to date. And certainly we can talk in more detail about them. But that's a high level view of CIP, and that's our report.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing thumbs up, and and Glenn had mentioned we did get some of us got an opportunity to go see a DM tank actually in construction. And do you want to talk a little bit about that? Or?
Sure, very briefly. The GM report. Mary's outlined the fact that we have soon we will have a new general manager, CEO of Bosca, Thomas Smeagol, and there's some information attached to the staff report about him. Spent a lot of time with Cal Water prior to taking this role. But I was thrilled actually to be able to, as you say, Rick Mikeson, to get out to the North Coast County DN tank project. It's a smaller scale than what we're taking on, but it was just fascinating to see it. The photos do it justice. That's what we were staring at the other day. The frame is going up, and having a chance to listen to you guys talk with some of the experts with HDR and Fryer and Loretta, it was fascinating. And to think that our project's going to be that much bigger, more than 3 times the size was really something to see. So it was a really great day for me personally. I think folks here are more technical than I can speak to it in a different fashion, but it was impressive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so what we did, you did touch on very briefly. We did Nicole left us a little prematurely. We thought we'd maybe get another year or 2 out of her, but we did vote to unanimously hire Thomas Smeagol, and we shall see, as is typically done when a new hire comes on board. They will hopefully reach out to each and every one of the 26 directors, have a chance to sit down with them. His background is finance. I would have liked to have seen someone with a little more of a political background, because this is really political. I mean, you need somebody with Newsom's phone number in your Rolodex. Nothing's going to happen without the governor on board. And we've kind of lost a little bit of momentum. A couple of years ago, he was kind of on board with the negotiated settlement. Then he thought he was going to be president, so we kind of lost his attention, and it's kind of languished in the meantime. So hopefully we can get back on board. It's really going to happen. That's what I've seen at the 20 plus years of Bosca. We'll see maybe another 20 years we're going to negotiate and settle it, but we can be hopeful. Thank you. Darren, thank you for attending today's meeting and giving us next report.
Yeah, we'll try to make this one quick.
No, don't feel any pressure. We like hearing about it.
As hopefully here shortly, we'll have our own tank to stand and look at, but we did have our kickoff meeting with DN tanks, HDR and FNL. I'm also happy to report that we've had several meetings with PG&E on site, so they're really cooperating, trying to help us get through every this. The Nunes water treatment plant painting project that you guys approved last month started, is going very well. The CSP fire system alarm replacement is all the way working. Everything's good to go. Everything's back up 100%. So we've had some challenges there, but everything's going well. The Pillar Pseudos well cleaning. The wells have been pulled and videoed. We've replaced well 1 and 4A with the borline hose, which is helping us not introduce more iron into the wells, and hopefully they last a little bit longer. As John mentioned, EKI helped us, or has been helping us with the environmental design for Pillar Pseudos culvert slide repair and the well replacements. We have a project that's pretty well designed, Alcatraz, Santa Rosa, and some portions in Ocean Colony, some pipeline replacements and some moving of some pipelines out of some easements that go between houses and things like that, that we're trying to get rid of all that good stuff. So that's about it really for us. Any questions?
Anyone have any quick questions? Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
Okay, like we're at the end, but we're not really. Director, agenda items requests for future board meetings? Hearing none. We can go into closed session.
All right, it is 7:36 and the board is going to convene in closed session. 2 items for
Thank
legal counsel.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, John.
Pursuant to California Government Code Section 5.56.9 subsection B1. Case Coastside County Water District versus Mary Alice Cosolino, trustee of the James and Alice Cosolino Trust. CIV-05456. Second closed session is conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.9 subsection B1. Coastside County Water District versus James Salvador Cosolino, a married man, is a sole and separate property, and Linda Jean Cosolino, a single woman, as tenants in common. Case number 24 CIV 05502, and can now convene into closed session.
Good. Okay, we are now coming out of closed session at 8:07. Oh, 7:49.
I have 7:51.
Oh, you know what? I'm looking at that clock. Yeah. That one's way out. 7:51, you're right. Patrick, please.
Yes, I'm happy to give the report. The board met in closed session for 2 items. The first was conference, both of them were conferences with legal counsel for existing litigation pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.9 subsection D1.
Yeah.
And the first one was for Coastside County Water District versus Mary Alice Cosolino, trustee of the James and Alice Cosolino Trust et al., case number 24 CIV 05456. And the second, the name of the case is Coastside County Water District versus James Salvador Cosolino, a married man. That's his sole and separate property, and Linda Jean Cosolino, a single woman, as tenants in common, case number 24-CIV 05502. And in both those closed sessions, no action was taken. And that concludes the open session report.
Thank you. That said, we're free to leave. Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah, with the closed session.
52 minutes with a record time.
Oh, yeah. It took longer to read the subject each time.
So what you